Hey everyone, it's Joe Beethoven, and I'm back for another masterful review that is sure to keep you on the edge of your seat and question every single decision you've ever made. And by that, I really mean that's what happened to me when I played The Quarry. So, The Quarry is the newest interactive narrative-based horror game from Supermassive, the developers of Until Dawn, Hidden Agenda, and the Dark Pictures anthology. And as a result, you kind of know what to expect with this game. You got a lot of characters in a really scary situation making life or death decisions. All characters can live or die based on your actions. And as a result, I was super pumped for this game. I've mentioned it on the channel before. I'm a huge fan of Until Dawn. I like Supermassive style, even though I wasn't as big a fan of the Dark Pictures games. It still had their distinct style, which I love. And I was excited to review this game, to play this game and experience it, to see the new characters in this new situation. Also, side note, I love David Arquette, and as a result, I hate Scream 5. If you've seen Scream 5 and love David Arquette as I do, you might know why I hate Scream 5, which is actually just called Scream, which is just really stupid. But hey, that's a total sidetrack right there. Anyway, we are here today to see how The Quarry by itself is and how it stacks up with its predecessor Until Dawn. As The Quarry is meant to be more of a spiritual successor to Until Dawn than it is meant to be like the Dark Pictures games, which have their own unique feel when compared to Until Dawn and The Quarry. So let's get into it. Does this game hold up with its amazing, masterful predecessor? Are the characters likable? Is the gameplay engaging? Is the story intriguing and terrifying? Do the choices really matter? All these questions and more will be answered, hopefully, by this review. Let's do this. So in this review, we're going to start with the story and the characters, which kind of form the foundation of Supermassive's game design philosophy. If you don't have interesting characters in a terrifying and engaging situation, you're not really going to care about what happens. So how well does The Quarry pull off this critical part of movie-style gameplay storytelling? Let's find out. So the game starts off well enough with Laura and Max, two very likable characters with great performances, on their way to Hackett's Quarry summer camp for an early check-in. You immediately like them, their relationship is believable, and pretty much right away I wanted them to get out of this situation alive. I cared about them. They end up in a car accident, in a creepy wood with some cool clues about the past, some hints about what is to come, and a very, very interesting interaction with Travis, the cop played by Ted Raimi. Fantastic performance, really interesting character. The stage seems to be set for a really interesting story. The problem is, after this opening, Laura and Max disappear for the majority of the game, and the game takes a steep dive into Boringville with a bunch of less likable characters. Now, not all of them. Some of the characters are actually still interesting and fun, but too many of them feel very one-dimensional and unspecial. Jacob and Caitlin are the first to interact, and immediately it doesn't feel right. Jacob is trying to be funny, but really comes across as annoying and a crybaby and kind of a jerk. And I think they're going for that, but as a result, he feels kind of all over the place as a character. Caitlin, played very well by Brenda Song, feels too one-note. It's like if Emily never developed in Until Dawn. That's what Caitlin feels like. She feels really mean and arrogant, but never really changes over the course of the story. Dylan is funny, but he's in the same boat. He's only funny. Even when awful things happen to him, he just keeps making jokes and never really seems to understand the gravity of the situation that they are in. Nick is very likable, and his relationship with Abby, you buy it, it's engaging, it's sweet, but Nick, like Laura and Max, disappears too early and then doesn't come back. Spoiler alert, there will be some minor spoilers. Nick doesn't really come back after he disappears for reasons I will not disclose. Abby is very likable and sweet, and I really wanted to see her get out alive, so she is a good character. Emma is fine. I feel like she has a similar problem where she kind of has this setting of out there girl, influencer chick. She's trying really hard to be cool, but inside she's really insecure type thing, which is a good setup for a character to be launched into a deeper arc, but it never really happens. It never really feels like she comes together as a person, as a character, as anything, really. She kind of just stays where she is. And then we come to the cream of the crop, and by that I mean the really boring and uninteresting crop, Ryan. Oh my gosh, I don't understand why Justice Smith is a thing. He's such a boring actor, and as a result, Ryan is a really boring character. He's clearly meant to be some sort of protagonist, but it doesn't work at all. He's nowhere near as interesting as Brett Dalton was as Mike. Ryan just doesn't work for me, mainly because Justice Smith seems really uninterested. He doesn't seem like he cares at all about what he's saying or what he's doing, and as a result, I don't care about Ryan. And that's the general issue. The problem with The Quarry, even though there's a lot to like here, is that I really didn't care that much if the characters lived or died. The choices were crazy. There was so much variety. I was really engaged with the story itself, but the characters didn't carry me through. They weren't what kept me going. If anything, they kind of felt like a hindrance to the story. The game focuses so much on these boring counselors that you never really feel like you connect enough with the Hackett's, like Chris Hackett. David Arquette is barely in the game. The Hackett parents are barely in the game. Bobby Hackett's barely in the game. The only one that's in a significant portion of the game is Ted Raimi, which is great because his character Travis is awesome. His performance is great. But that doesn't feel very well balanced. The balance that was in Until Dawn just isn't there in this game. The characters aren't that engaging, and the time you spend with them feels kind of meandering for a long time. And that's a problem for me. It's not as good in this area as Until Dawn was. Now, the story of The Quarry manages to be pretty interesting and terrifying despite some of the characters not being very engaging or likable. I did want to know what was going to happen next. I wanted to get to the next twist, the next chase scene, the next terrifying, horrific monster event. There were a lot of things I wanted to see, and I was taken along for the ride, but it just takes too long to get there. After the really cool opening, the first couple hours of the game feel way too much like Life is Strange. You're just walking around a really colorful environment with nice music playing in the background, looking for collectibles in really big environments that are mostly empty. The new camera angle is cool, but it doesn't really feel necessary because I didn't really feel like my exploration mattered that much, other than the evidence pieces that sort of lead to a better ending, but not a very interesting ending, and the tarot cards, which do lead to really cool interactions with Eliza, who serves as the Peter Stormare, the analyst of this game. She's a really cool character, really interesting and creepy, but the rest of the game just doesn't get going fast enough, and once it does, it kind of feels too little too late. While I did enjoy it, the twists came too fast as a result of the really slow, uninteresting build-up. And when the twists came, they didn't feel that shocking. They didn't really feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. I kind of saw most of it coming. And then you have a very disappointing ending, which wraps everything up as quickly as possible, and then just leads to a credit sequence where people are standing there and words appear next to them. You don't even get to see the characters come back together. It kind of feels like the quote-unquote best ending, which I'm pretty sure is the one I got, doesn't even satisfy. It doesn't really wrap anything up. It just stops. The Hacketts never fully develop as a threat. The enemy in the game, the other enemy, is pretty easy to see coming, and then it's just over once you get to the end. The characters never really get full arcs, and it just kind of stops. And that was really disappointing to me, because why would I go back if the best ending of the game, quote-unquote, is also really unsatisfying? I mean, if you know that there's a better ending than the one where everyone lives and everyone's okay, please let me know, because I'd love to see a more satisfying ending to this narrative. As it stands right now, giving as few spoilers as possible, it's too slow, the ending is super unsatisfying, and the characters sort of drag it down. While I was invested in the choices I made, and the paths are various, it's very cool to see them upgrade like this in terms of choice and consequence, it just didn't come together in the end. The Quarry kind of meanders to the finish. It trips over the finish line. And that was a big bummer to me, especially since I had my whole family watch. They were invested. They wanted to see what would happen. And we all agreed that the ending kind of sucked. The characters, the good ones, are what will carry you through the game, like Laura, Max, and Abby. But the rest of them, you're not really going to connect with them. It just doesn't feel very balanced. And by the end, you kind of feel empty. That's how I felt anyway, and that's a big bummer to feel in a supermassive game. Now we come to the gameplay, and similar to the rest of it, this is a pretty mixed bag for me. While you do have more control over the camera and what you look at and how you move around, it doesn't feel like there's that much to look at. The game also somehow manages to feel even more linear, like there's less to do, and your collectibles don't affect the conversations or change really what's going on that often. And I feel like that's a bummer because in Until Dawn and Man of Medan, the Dark Pictures games in general, when you get collectibles, they lead to really cool moments where the characters are putting stuff together. Instead, that stuff is in the menu in text form. And while that's cool and all, connecting the clues, it felt like it could have affected the game a bit more than what we got. Also, the shooting, it's trying to make you feel like you have more control, but it feels less so. It feels like you never know what you're really aiming at, whether you should shoot. It's meant to be tense whether or not you should shoot, but really it just kind of feels like, what am I even aiming at? What am I going to hit? There are no great action sequences, no great chase sequences like there were in Until Dawn. It doesn't feel like the tension is always there as you're doing your quick time events, as you're aiming your gun, as you're trying to take out your enemy. It doesn't really feel that way. It feels really slow even in these bigger moments. The gameplay doesn't really engage you. The quick time events aren't as much fun. The guns don't really come into play as much as they should. And the characters don't feel like they're in that much danger other than making sure you press the analog in the right direction. I know there are difficulty settings and maybe I'll mess with those, but in the normal setting, the gameplay just doesn't feel that engaging. It feels kind of just there because it has to be. Which is why I think they did the movie mode for this one, because it already feels like you're not doing that much. You could just watch it as a movie, and it would feel like the same experience. And as a result, the gameplay just doesn't really draw you in. I do like the don't breathe sequences. They're a lot better than the stay calm sequences in Man of Medan and the Dark Pictures games. But Don't Breathe still isn't as cool as Hold Still from Until Dawn. That is terrifying. That really worked for me. Don't Breathe feels like you literally just hold down a button until the red light disappears, which is cool, but that's literally all it is, and it doesn't work as well for me. Overall, though, the gameplay experience is just not that satisfying, and it feels like you're sort of a spectator rather than actually influencing what the characters are doing in the gameplay sequences, which is, to be expected from an interactive narrative game. You're not always going to feel like you're in control, but still, I wish it felt a little more like that, a little more controlled, a little more like I was directing the movie. So what's the verdict? The Quarry has a lot of things going for it. It looks great. The characters, some of them are pretty good, like Lauren, Max, and Abby, and Nick. So that's pretty good. It has a really intriguing mystery. It has a great story in some ways. The building tension works once it finally gets there. The problem is that too many of the characters are uninteresting, the buildup is too long, the ending of the story is disappointing, and the gameplay is not very engaging. As a result, I just don't see myself replaying this anywhere near as often as I replayed Until Dawn or even Man of Medan. I didn't like Man of Medan that much compared to other games that Supermassive has made, but I played that one a lot more than I feel like I'm going to play The Quarry. So The Quarry has enough going for it for me to give it a 7.5. I did enjoy some of the characters. I enjoyed the ride. I didn't enjoy the destination that much. I didn't enjoy all of the gameplay. I felt like it was a downgrade in some ways, but there's enough here to engage you, to keep you going, and chances are I will make some different choices. I'll see what different things lead to for the heck of it, maybe even post some extra videos on the channel about it, but as it stands, The Quarry is a little bit disappointing to me. I thought it was pretty good, but could have been a lot better, could have had a much better wrap-up and a much better climax. The mystery could have been better paced. The whole story could have been better paced. There could have been more likable characters, more time with the side characters. It just feels like a very unfocused experience, and that's a bummer to me because I was really excited for this. I was really excited to have another Until Dawn-like gem in my life. As it stands, The Quarry gets a 7.5, which means it's pretty good. I liked it, but not enough. All right, that was video review number 13, and I'm so glad to be consistent about this again, to keep doing new videos. And I have a new sense of purpose now with The Quarry, because next up is my Until Dawn review, and then I'm going to do the Dark Pictures games and Hidden Agenda. That's right, I'm doing a whole super massive binge right now. I'm going to review them all, rank them all, and I'm going to give it all to you as quickly as I can. I hope you really enjoyed the review. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming Masterful content about Supermassive's horror games. To be clear, I won't be doing Rush of Blood or The Inpatient because I don't have VR. So I'm going to do all the games that I can play and rank those for you soon. I'm really excited because I haven't played all of these yet. I haven't played House of Ashes, and some people say it's really cool. So I'm going to check that out soon. I'm excited to see what I think and share my thoughts with you. So get ready for a lot of Supermassive content coming soon. And who knows, maybe some of these will be better than the Quarry. We'll see what happens when the ranking comes out. I'll let you know. But stay tuned for all that because it's all coming your way really soon. All right, that's all for now. God bless you guys. I'll catchphrase you later. And this mantra will keep me going for the rest of time until it actually happens. Alan Wake 2 is coming. Bye.